So today I have the fantastic pleasure of talking to my lifelong pal, Joanna Christie, who is not only a wonderful actress, both in the West End and on Broadway, but you may have seen her in shows like Narcos. And now she is currently also studying to be a conservationist based in New York, where she lives with her 3-year-old daughter, Wyler. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, yeah, good. Good is a relative term now.
Surviving. How's the US? I bet you're all in a really hopeful, happy place since last week.
We are. The inauguration has just given so many of us just a huge sense of relief and hope for the future. So even though we're still in the middle of a pandemic, we at least have a leader who is taking it seriously, and also the wider implications, the societal and the environmental impacts of the pandemic, and are actually, he sounds like he's really going to try and address those, which is like, oh, yeah, hope for the future.
Yeah, he sounds like a good man. He's a good man. He's a
Yeah.
human. Yeah. Yeah, we
Yes.
like him. We like him. We're
Not
really
a narcissist. Yeah.
correct. So thank you for agreeing to do this. I haven't seen you for so long, but this is the beauty of Zoom, and that we can just catch up and hang out, and I can interview you on these 3 questions. My first being the change, the huge changes we've all gone through, especially in the last 12 months. It's continuing on now into 2021. How are you finding it? How is it impacting you, both in your professional world, but also as a mum?
Well, firstly, I feel very, very fortunate that just personally, just in myself, I am very adaptable. It's one of my strengths, I think, that I've learned in life, that I like change. So I do generally embrace change. I'm adventurous. I like to experience new things. I don't need any home comforts. I always say, I don't have a comfort zone. There's nothing's outside of my comfort zone because I don't have one. I'm really happy having new things. And just as an actress, we have to be adaptable. Narcos was like, okay, go and live in Bogota for 2 years. India, where we met, was just go to India for 6 months. And I loved I loved those different, just being thrown into a different world. I love that. Motherhood, same thing, completely different life to what we had before. But again, I embraced that. I kind of felt ready for the change, and ready for it. But I mean, this year has been exceptional in
Huge.
exactly, and it's been very overwhelming. I think actually for the first time in my life, I felt overwhelmed by a situation. At the beginning, yeah, in April, when it was very, very bad here in New York, that was I just kept bursting into tears. And but along the way, along this year, I've also learned to look for the positives, and actually step back and see what a terrible situation was actually bringing, that was a positive, and learn the lessons that it's bringing up. So I think in the end, I hope that it will, that I hope that personally and collectively, I hope that it will be, that we will come out better than we went in.
Do you know, I think that is the common denominator for everyone, that we've all kind of faced and embraced change differently, individually. I'd like to think from my yoga practice that I was really like flexible and I can go with the flow. And it turns out that I have, stubbornness and OCD that really doesn't like change at all. But that kind of change on this kind of level helps you to reflect on, we've been pushed along the path, haven't we, to really face the way that we were doing things, and maybe understanding that it just wasn't working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it was working, we were just lying to ourselves in some way. So that kind of deep level, like it is not going to go back to the way it was, it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing for us all. I can't help but feel, through all the loss and the grief and the frustration and the incarceration that we felt, whether it's in our own minds or in our homes, the greater plan behind of all this is a hell of a lot more freedom further down the path.
And even just for people to hopefully realize and appreciate the freedom that they do enjoy in normal pre-COVID times. to recognize what it is to lose those freedoms, and to maybe have empathy for people who are not so fortunate.
And I suppose now that you're studying conservation now on this really, deep level, and understanding our relationship to nature, I bet you've had to really sort of question your own code of conduct, and how you've been sort of journeying through life, and as we all have, consuming, and then suddenly you're studying in a way that was really reflecting back to you your choices. Has that had an impact on you?
Yeah, huge.
The way you've done it.
Huge. I mean, anyone, I'm studying for a master's in biodiversity, wildlife, and ecosystem health, so essentially environmental conservation. But and doing that through a pandemic that has actually been caused by our encroachment into the natural environment has been very eye-opening. And so two things: look, like analyzing my own impact on biodiversity, which my last assessment was actually exactly that. I had to analyze it, which and just so to realize on a personal level how I am impacting and what I can do and the changes that I can make to lessen that impact, but more importantly, recognize on a global scale and as a species how we are collectively doing that, and the changes we need to make, some big changes. And going back to your question of how do you deal with change and embrace change, we as a species need to, because we're not going to survive if we don't. And it will take radical change that people are, and you can just see people are so resistant to it, because they cannot face change. And I think that's very telling as a species. Most of us do not embrace change, but we have to adapt and survive.
Absolutely. So when looking back to last year and the 12 months that's been, has there been a mantra, a slogan, a catchphrase that has brought you through in difficult times?
Yes. I actually have my personal mantras, the lessons that I learn in life, tattooed on my body. So I have 3, and they've all collectively helped me through. One is my daughter's name on my finger, and that just reminds me that no matter what, she is my ultimate commitment, and she is my ultimate focus. So even no matter what else is going on, no matter all the other pressures, as long as she is safe and happy, that's what matters, and everything else can go. But probably the most
not your mantra, though. No, your daughter's name is not your mantra.
She's not there. Yeah, that would be a bit obsessive. No, my mantra is another tattoo that I had last year, which is rise, just the word rise, and I have a tiny little bird taking flight, which is to remind me that, again, no matter what, no matter the external pressures, no matter other people who are maybe negative influences, or situations, or phases in my life that are difficult, to always try and rise above it and try and find the positive, try and elevate myself higher than that and not be dragged down by it, because I've realized that some things in life are really difficult to do that with. And so that's my little message to myself. And that's been prevalent this whole year, to just rise above, find the good, and to also to keep, for me, to learn the lessons through the difficult times. That's very important to me. To go through something difficult and just come out the other side is just to survive is not enough. I want to learn something. I want to learn a deeper lesson that I can take forward with me to then face the next problem with. So to always keep striving to rise above is my mantra.
I absolutely love that. I love the simplicity of it. Just one simple word, that you don't need this whole long, lengthy sort of Sanskrit.
But it has a lot of implications.
Yeah. And more so, and again, when we think back to those really tough times of last year, I mean, we're still in it. We're still going through it. I spoke to a lot of friends and a lot of mums who are simply saying, there's nowhere for me to go. I feel just so imprisoned at times. I'm running a house. I'm continuing a job. I've got my kids at home. I'm in a marriage. It's just so much. And, where do we take stock, and where do we breathe, and where do we kind of just make room for us? And so you've got that physical sort of slump, but the mental slump too, and that feeling that you know, that one word can just keep you elevated. And the whole point of all of this, really, ultimately, as you and I have studied on the yogic path, is transcendence. You know, whatever that is to you, you know, that idea that we're not here just to be matter on this earth, consuming our way to the grave. You know, it is this idea of just this elevated state, and all of this has maybe come to maybe spark something like that into us. So I love it. So it's on your foot, did you say?
Yeah, it's on the top of my foot, tiny.
And the other question I have for you is, which I've been asking other people, is, you know, when it is all done, when we have this unlimited freedom back, if we do have it back, but, you know, just fantasizing into that future where there's no risk anymore, what's the one thing that you're most looking forward to doing first?
Well, apart from jazz clubs and libraries is the thing that I miss most about New York that are closed right now. I can't wait to go and sit in a basement jazz club at late night and listen to, you know, the best jazz musicians on the planet. I miss that. But travel is the thing that, you know, to have that freedom taken away, you know, and to recognize that I'm so fortunate to have that freedom anyway. But my God, will I make the most out of being able to travel again? But I think the primary thing is my being away from my family, not being able to just go and see my mum and my brother and his family. And so that will be, so as adventurous as I think I am and independent from my mum, you know, having gone to boarding school since I was 13, it will be taking my daughter and going to see her grandma and being with family.
Promise me this, when you get on that plane and you do touch down on the UK, you'll let us know.
Oh, I will definitely shoot on all my friends into that trip.
It was a couple of years since we've seen you and Weiler, and I would absolutely love it. Thank you so much for doing today. I love what you've shared with us. And stay safe and well over there. We're all like just rooting for Biden and rooting for this change. And I know you're doing amazing work, both on screen and off screen. So love you. Mwah.
Thanks, darling. Love you.
See you soon, my love. Take care.
Bye.